When we could get people to think and talk about their work as politically and socially engaged artists, what would that look like? Daniel is an artist who also is a writer and a scholar, and I'm a scholar who also kind of dabbles in something like art. We're kind of coming together because of a mutual interest on the border of art and scholarship and archiving and activism.
In 2005, I started a publication called AREA, which stood for Art, Research, Education, and Activism. So Rebecca was on the advisory board. After 2 years of conducting oral history, most of the people that we interviewed gave us some stuff. That's where the conversation started for what eventually became a 2013 fellowship and residency at the new Gray Center.
Some of the artists who came to that conversation, if they were making work that was kind of activist in nature, they didn't want it to just go into a folder and kind of be like moldering away inside an archive, but they wanted to have it be kind of circulating, brought out, looked at, used as inspiration for other artists or activists, or used actually as the raw material of new art.
And kind of insisting on that through the title, calling it Never the Same.
One of the ways that we kind of keep the archive alive was to do these things we call unfurlings, which are events where someone would be invited in to pull out materials from the archive, possibly to bring in some of their own materials, to combine them in some creative way, and to kind of roll them out on a blanket that we called the unfurling blanket. Just kind of generate a conversation about them and just have invite people in to kind of talk and pick things up, ask questions about them.
We had a symposium called Grassroots Archiving, and we invited folks to come and talk about community-based archives and kind of media arts archives. Gray Center folks said, well, okay, there's like a few kind of components that you need to have in your fellowship. And one of them was that there needs to be a class taught. So then we're like, well, it would be way more consistent with the values of the project to make it a free adult education seminar. So we were out in the city a lot, visiting places, visiting exhibitions.
We ask students to sit with one or two pieces of ephemera and come up with questions about them.
One of the components of our fellowship was an exhibition. We invited 5 artists and art groups, and really with the prompt being that they make new work which is inspired by or in dialogue with the Never the Same archive. It was the first time that I had really curated an exhibition that involved entirely new work. That really, had a big impact on the next big curatorial project I did that was also all commissioned work.
Having an archivist, Skyla Hearn, really was crucial to being able to eventually hand it over to the Newberry, which is what we ended up doing with it.
The year after we did this, the school, the Art Institute, in partnership with University of Chicago Press, put out a series of books called Chicago Social Practice History. The other people involved made significant use of the Never the Same materials and interviews and the overall kind of framework of the project. Through the slow build, very community-based approach of Never the Same, we were able to basically take space and make space for a lot of voices in that process.
It's been really nice to see other people doing unfurlings around the city. It's definitely affected my teaching. Things that I ask students to do to sort of loosen up the, conventions of academic work. It's been nice to think of ourselves as at least a link in a chain that's continuing.